What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back to the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for the latest episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones, and coming up on today's episode, the Broncos' first week of OTA practices is in the books. We'll hear today from head coach Sean Payton and several players. All that and more coming up. Broncos' first week of OTAs is complete. Today's practice was open to the media, and following it, we heard from head coach Sean Payton as he detailed how the first week went.
There's always that transition. The first week, the rookies will come in, they'll lift separately. And then, that second week, there's that transition period where, they're in with the 91. But I thought overall the week went well. And we tried to, and this is important for everyone, we try to split up all the reps. So there's going to be a time where you read into the reps. I don't think it's early in OTAs.
Plus, Sean went on to talk about how he approaches the quarterback competition between Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson, and Bo Nix.
We had it in New Orleans after Drew left with Andy. It was with Teddy and Taysom. Look, we go by what we see. We try to get them as many reps as possible. We're rotating all of them right now. So Tuesday, Stiddy ran with the ones, and then Zach, and then Bo, and we'll keep doing that right now.
Plus, we also heard from quarterbacks Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham today, and they also talked about how the quarterback competition is going so far.
Personally, I think competition brings out the best in anybody. I look forward to what we have. I appreciate the ownership and from the top down, just for the opportunity to be here to compete. I think it brings out the best in everybody. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been exciting. Having two new guys in the room. This is the first time I've been the vet in the room, so that's been fun and exciting. But yeah, this is a business. I understand how this thing goes. But it's been fun to compete, and that's what we're going to do.
Today was also the first time we saw some of the new veterans on the field, some of the guys the Broncos signed in a free agency. And we heard specifically from safety Brandon Jones and wide receiver Josh Reynolds after practice. And they both talked about how they've adjusted to Denver and what the transition has been like.
I think trying to figure out the plays, but at this point, kind of been at a couple teams, so a lot of it kind of carries over. And then I'd say the altitude, it's been a little tough.
I'm always looking for growth in every aspect of my game, whether it's blitzing, man coverage, playing high, anything. Just trying to prove to everybody, my teammates, that I could do whatever I need to do and whatever the coaches need me to do.
Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio is Broncos lead writer Eric DeLa. Eric, thanks for joining me. First full week of OTA practice in the books.
Yeah, nice to get out there and watch the vets and the rookies practice side by side, get another taste of football, Sid. A couple more weeks of OTAs to go, mini camp, and then training camp will be here before you know it.
It's crazy. I know you can't go into too many details, Eric, but what did you think of practice today?
Yeah, I thought one of the guys that stood out to me was Lucas Kroll. He made several nice plays, nice catches in traffic. Sean Payton after practice said that he went up to Kroll toward the end and said, the media's all looking at their roster right now and looking up who's 85, and said it won't be long before people know that name. Obviously, the Broncos need somebody to emerge at that tight end position as a little bit more of a contributor than they've had in recent years. Greg Dulcich was on the side field today, and Sean Payton said he's close to returning to practice. It's going to be sooner rather than later, but obviously they want to be smart. They don't want to rush him back, but with kind of injury issues that Dulcich has faced, Lucas Kroll did get an opportunity toward the end of last season, scored a touchdown late in the year, I believe, in that New England game as the Broncos tried to come back.
Yeah.
Obviously got some targets late in the year. So he was a guy that stood out, I think, if you're looking at just top individual days. And then, of course, the quarterbacks stand out every time that we're able to watch quarterback competition. This year is going to be no different. Bo Nix did get the first team reps on this Thursday. Sean Payton said, don't pay too much attention yet to reps. There will be a point where you can pay attention to those and who's going first, who's going second. He said early in OTAs, especially the first week, is not that time. He did share with us, I think, to make that point that Jarrett Stidham got the first team reps on Tuesday during OTAs.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson got him on Wednesday. Bo Nix got him on Thursday. Obviously, Tuesday and Wednesday not open to the media, so we're not able to kind of tell how they performed. I would say, Sid, it is a little bit notable just that it is this open competition, and sometimes early on you see just the veteran get those first team reps, or maybe, it would have been understandable if just Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson were getting those reps. But
Right.
I do think it's notable that they're spreading them out equally. They want everybody to get the same number of reps. And I think that goes back to what Peyton Manning mentioned on Wednesday night. Said he was asked about, hey, rookie quarterbacks, should they play right away? Should they not? Peyton obviously played his whole rookie season through 28 interceptions, or a record that still stands that he wants broken by somebody not named Bo Nix.
Right.
And then you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes. He sat his whole first year.
Yeah.
Then the next year, obviously, started this stretch that he's on that Broncos fans probably can't wait for it to be over.
Yeah.
But Sean Payton talked about, from a rookie standpoint, it's more about, is there a veteran in front of them that's an established guy? He pointed to Green Bay kind of the same way he did at owners' meetings. And so I thought that was meaningful just in terms of, it feels like if Bo is ready to play, and obviously we're a long way from the regular season, but if Bo's ready to play, he'll get a chance to play. And if he wins the job, he'll get a chance to play. It doesn't sound like no matter what, Sean, it feels like a rookie needs to sit. And so that is noticeable, or notable rather, and the fact that they split first team reps, that stood out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. We also heard today from Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson. First time we've heard from Zach Wilson, first time he met the media since he was traded here. They both talked about the quarterback competition, said, competition is healthy. So that was great to hear just from them. We haven't heard from them in a while, Eric.
Yeah, and I think one thing that stood out from each of them for Stidham, it's that he's really comfortable in this system compared to a year ago. That's, if you think about an advantage that he has over Bo Nix, over Zach Wilson, it's how comfortable he is. He's been in this offense for a full year. When he met the media at the end of last season, he said, hey, I'm going to be ready to go in April because it's all going to be the same. Nothing's going to have changed. Same coaching staff, same playbook. And I think that's where his benefit is, just getting the ball out quick. He's got a little bit more experience in terms of years in the league. And he said, listen, I understand why they drafted Bo Nix, why they traded for Zach Wilson. It's a business. They're always looking to get better. But he's not just going to sit down, lay down, and kind of give up this job. He's ready to compete, ready to fight for it. I think that's the right attitude if you're Jarrett Stidham to have.
Definitely.
And then from Zach Wilson's standpoint, he just talked about the need to be consistent every day in terms of knowing the playbook, making the throws, leading the offense. I think we all know, and you could see on Thursday, the arm talent that Zach Wilson has. I mean, he made some throws where you're like, whoa, that's an impressive throw. For him, it's can you be consistent? Can you avoid the mistakes? He mentioned that, avoiding turnovers.
Yeah.
And so the fact that I asked him, hey, what's the key for you? And sometimes guys kind of hem and haw. They avoid those direct answers and say, oh, I want to focus on everything. He was pretty direct. I've got to avoid turnovers. I've got to be consistent. I've got to know this playbook every single day. Right. That stood out to me from him.
Yeah, and for him too, this is just a fresh start, and I think that's going to be huge for him. And he even spoke about that too. Like, has a lot of wonderful memories from New York and the Jets, but this is what he needs now in his career.
Yeah, and we heard Peyton Manning talk about it on Wednesday night again. That Sean Payton is a great coach, has a great system for quarterbacks to come into. Peyton joked that it's a system he'd want to play in himself, and it can be a great second chance for Zach. It's clear that he's not leaving that experience behind. There's certain things you take with you, but for him, it does seem like, based on all the reports and even what he said today, that just having a clean slate is important. And now these quarterbacks, all of them, have to go out and prove it. Sean Payton said they're kind of like orphan dogs in terms of, just having to find a new home or kind of prove themselves after it didn't work out in a previous spot.
Right.
Obviously, Jarrett Stidham's played different places. Zach Wilson, we know. Bo Nix had to transfer from Auburn to Oregon. So they've all gone through a bit of adversity, and now it's how do they respond and who can win the job.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be fun to watch that play out, Eric. I know we saw some of the new veterans out on the field for the first time today. Some of the new guys coming in from free agency, Brandon Jones, Levi Wallace, Josh Reynolds. We heard from Brandon Jones and Josh Reynolds afterwards too. What were kind of takeaways from that? Yeah,
I think they both have interesting experiences, vantage points, whatever you want to call it, in that they joined their last teams, Miami in Brandon Jones's case. Detroit and Josh Reynolds' case, when they were in this kind of same place that Denver is right now in terms of trying to take that next step and build a program back up. And obviously both teams were able to do that to various degrees, right? Detroit went to the NFC Championship game, had a lead, almost went to the Super Bowl. Miami didn't have as much success in the playoffs, but obviously we saw what they were able to do offensively, in particular, kind of some of the defensive stuff late in the year. So they both have that perspective of what it takes. And I think when you've got that mix of young talent, which the Broncos are trying to build up through these last couple of draft classes, and then the right veteran additions that know what it takes. And I think that goes back to guys like a Mike McGlinchey, for example, like a Zach Allen. That's the right puzzle pieces fitting together. And so when I think back on what Josh Reynolds and Brandon Jones had to say, that stood out to me just in terms of they know what it takes to help a program take the next step, and hopefully they can do that here in Denver.
For sure. Yeah. Well, only the first week of OTAs. Eric, what are you hoping to see just over the next couple of weeks as, mandatory minicamp is only in 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think especially at the quarterback position, just take steps forward.
Yeah.
It was notable during 7-on-7. The Broncos were efficient, quick. I think only 2 passes hit the ground that whole period. There were some impressive throws here and there. I think especially with Bo Nix, when you are playing with the first team rather than the second or third team, things are going to go a little bit faster. The defense you're going against is obviously better. It's ones-on-ones right now. And so I thought he still made some impressive throws on Thursday, but there were definitely some areas to clean up. Get the ball out fast, avoid pressure. So whether it's Bo, Zach, Jarrett, when it's their turn with the ones, and minicamp should be an example if they continue this rotation, we'll see. But where you'd get to see 3 consecutive days of one guy with the ones and the next guy, then the next guy, and kind of have an apples to apples comparison to look at. But that'll really stand out to me. Just how do these quarterbacks continue to progress, especially Bo, who is just a couple weeks into this thing, and Sean Payton did give him some nice praise there. He said he's picking it up a lot faster than most rookie quarterbacks would, and that he's looked good. But again, progress is the name of the game, and we're still a long way away from September 8th, but it is every day we get a little bit closer, and so these reps matter, and I'll be excited next week, following week, and minicamp to see how do the quarterbacks do. I mean, right now, Sid,
me too.
It's all about the quarterback.
It is, of course. Well, Eric, appreciate you joining the show today.
You got it, Sid.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Broncos Now, Broncos Country. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for another episode next time. I'll see you then.